Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at our NWSWeek weekly webinar on Wednesdays. We have a great panel today discussing about the Appreciative Inquiry Summit. This amazing 3-day virtual event really was an exciting time for NWSWeek to be able to rethink, revision the NWSWeek. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about what's happening now. It's just NWSWeek week. You've probably seen some of our staff members and residents wearing the t-shirts. We've been giving those out this week, and there's been a whole lot of activity. We still got a lot to go, so let's go through this. NWSWeek week started actually beginning of this week. We started off with a cooking demo at the Valete Street Oasis, and we had a groundbreaking on Monday. And now we got a number of different things lined up, and we'll go through some of those things lined up. One thing I would say, if you are interested in participating, but you don't want to be around a lot of people, that's fine too. We got something for you. Text NWSWeek, that is one phrase, NWSWeek, to 48 48 48. That's 348, 48 48 48. You would get a chance to win a gift card for one of our NWSWeek businesses, and we'll be announcing those daily. So please text that in if you want to participate that way. But also, if you want to come in person, we got some things coming up today. We have the Historic Avenues West walking tour. This is really cool. We partnered with Historic Milwaukee, so you will hear my voice. But also there's an app you can download, and you can actually go to about 14 different sites on the tour, from the Joan of Arc Chapel, which was Joan of Arc Chapel, along with the second place that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke at in this city, and that's at 5 p.m. We also have a couple other things. The walk and ride, that's coming up on Thursday. That's at 4:30, starting at Merrill Park. A great chance to see the newer side and even go to the Hank Aaron Trail and connect with a number of different residents. And also you get a free t-shirt if you can join us. We have the scavenger hunt. I'm pretty excited about this. We've been working on this for quite some time, actually several years. And Elizabeth Bourne, one of the NWSWeek partner staff members, was able to pull this off. We have a scavenger hunt starting on Friday at noon and extending to Saturday night at 6 p.m. Download the app and get a chance to really explore the NWSWeek. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with people. You can do it walking. You can do it on a bike. You can do it in the car. You can do it on a scooter. You can do it on a skateboard, whatever. And we have NWSWeek movie night we're pretty excited about. Tom and Jerry. Yes, Tom and Jerry. You guys remember Tom and Jerry. They were quite violent, I think about it, but they're coming up, and we're pretty excited to see them. So that'll be on Friday at 6 p.m. in Merrill Park. And then second to last, we have our virtual homeownership resource fair. This is really exciting because we have some beautiful homes in the NWSWeek that have been restored. I saw the pictures yesterday. Amazing restoration with these homes. Please do check them out. And that's at 9:30 to 11 a.m. This coming up Saturday. And last but not least, I'm pretty excited about this, the West Side Mural Tour and unveiling. This coming up Saturday at 3 p.m. Get a chance to see some of these beautiful murals that's along Valete Street, and you get a chance to meet some of the artists, and that's led by our one and only Anne Marie on the NWSWeek partner staff. We're going to now check out this video. Pretty exciting. This is really showing the groundbreaking that took place on Monday for the new State Theater groundbreaking, but also it shows the highlight of the groundbreaking for the new State Theater Arts space, which is really cool. Let's check that out now.
A special groundbreaking to celebrate Milwaukee's first Near West Side Week. The shovels went into the grass there at the site of what will become a new youth art space at 26th and State. A new mural you'll see there showcasing the history of the neighborhood was also unveiled.
For those who are interested in looking at all the great things that's happening, including the murals, take a drive down Valete Street, 27th and State. Specifically State as you look at the mural that's here that we're celebrating today.
WISN 12, by the way, is a member of the West Side Partner Group.
Lindsay, thank you for that. Thanks for getting that video at the last minute in for us. Now we're going to ask all our panelists and to join us. We have Rachel Schneider, who will be helping us understand what this virtual Appreciative Inquiry Summit what was all about and some of the outcomes. We also have Dia Henderson, who's been working with us the PARK program and also as a student at Marquette University. And of course, Tim Baack is a resident of the Near West Side. And so we'll bring you guys all on. I think the last person waiting on is for Dia. But there's some exciting stuff going on, Rachel. I'm so impressed with the momentum and what's happening in the Near West Side. Can you tell us about this Appreciative Inquiry, kind of what we did and what transpired?
Of course. So it was a really pretty fascinating and amazing thing to be part of. The whole premise of Appreciative Inquiry Summit is to bring a whole system together. So much larger numbers of people participating in something than I think most of us have ever experienced in any kind of strategic planning or action planning or even just inspiration planning. And then the other really key piece, and it's in the name, Appreciative Inquiry, is really leaning into strengths and assets of whatever the system is that you're looking at. So we are looking at the Near West Side. So, you start with this whole discover and dream phase, where you really pause and think about all the strengths and assets for us of the Near West Side. What do we really want to lean into? What do we want to make sure doesn't get lost along the way? And then, transforming into dreams and thinking big, thinking out, 10 years in dreaming really big and inspiring things for what Near West Side can be. And I think in that conversation is really where we started adding the live, work, play, and stay as we were talking about the Near West Side, that how important it is to preserve so much of the great things we have in the Near West Side. And this is, diversification and progress without displacement and without, I think one participant used the word, we're a little bit proud that we got a little bit of grit and we know how to get things done and we're resilient and we do not want to lose that in the process of making this an even better place to live, work, play, and stay. And I think that and stay is really, really critical piece of the outcome of the summit. What I think was really also quite different about this process. So, and we're talking 150 people and all in the room, and this was the Zoom room. So imagine that. And I think several of us were a little bit hesitant about how well that would work, but it worked great. And we were able to have some really amazing, fascinating speakers inspire us along the way, who called in from Barcelona and from Seattle and from London. So, that format actually facilitated a much more connected and positive experience almost than it might have if we were all physically together. But the last day and a half of the summit, this was the other thing that was great about it. We took these dreams and we actually started working on them. We started transforming them into rapid prototypes. How might we do X, Y, Z? And I think we had 10 different groups of prototypes, and then ending with inspiration, but also sort of an ambition and an initial action planning, so that you come out of the summit with some real momentum and actually some concrete ideas and steps of how we can make some of these things reality. And this whole effort, we were very blessed. We had David Cooper-Ryder, who's the actual original kind of thought leader around this whole Appreciative Inquiry Summit. People in the academic world know his name. He's kind of a big deal. He's actually a very, very humble man. But he commented after, we have such a great advantage over a lot of the groups that he's worked with because we have this 7-year foundation of Near West Side partners and the foundations of the neighborhoods that predate that by years and decades in some instances. And that gives us such a great foundation to be able to quickly move some of this work into reality and implementation. So that's my sum up for the summit.
Rachel, I would say what I'm really excited about, I've been doing this work for approximately 20 years, and the fact that you mentioned we led by our strengths. And I think that is so exciting because a lot of times when we do this community or organization work, we do this work as, okay, what's wrong with the community? What's wrong? But knowing that we have these strengths and these assets that we can build upon, I really appreciate that. So I want to bring in our other two panelists, Dia and Tim. What was your experience during the summit? How did you feel? Start with you, Tim. How was your experience with the summit? What resonated with you? And then Dia, you too.
Okay, thank you, Keith. You know, Rachel, something that you just said really resonated with me, and that is inspiration planning as a good way to sort of capture what this event was all about. I got to be honest with you, Keith, I had no idea what to expect when I signed up. Appreciative Inquiry, it sounds, a little techie and a little foreign. I was just like, I don't know what this is. And I think, as you were just describing it, that is so on point. It's leading with our strengths. It's looking at collective impact. It's looking at what is possible. What are our collective dreams? What are our assets? What are our strengths? And how do we marshal that collectively and collaboratively into something that individually we can't do on our own? I mean, let's be honest, this is incredibly difficult and daunting work. You just mentioned a little while ago at another gathering that we had, sort of a reconvening of some of us who were participants, that we have here on the near west side incredibly high rates of unemployment. We have so many challenges facing us as a neighborhood of neighborhoods, and yet we have so many assets and so many opportunities. And my husband John and I, we've been residents here for the last 5 years, give or take. And for me, it's really coming full circle. I was an undergrad at Marquette University longer ago than I care to actually disclose, but I just lived a couple blocks away from where we live currently. And this was a coming home for us when we came back to the near west side. And this opportunity, this appreciative inquiry, and all of the ideas and the momentum and the inspiration that was generated from what was an incredibly 2.5 days of intensive work is really inspiring. And there is so much that is possible here. And that's what really gets me excited. And I think for many of us to think of the opportunities that lay ahead and how we galvanize the resources and the collective inspiration and wisdom, that's just all really exciting.
Dia, what was your experience from the summit, during the summit?
Yeah, I think I agree with Tim. It was the inspirational part was definitely there, and the aspiration too. It was a lot of bouncing off of ideas and collaborative work that I thought was very interesting, because I'm not from the near west side at all. I grew up in Milwaukee, but we just never ventured over to that part of Milwaukee. So this was just a big learning step for me. I know for Tim, he said it was coming home. This was me like moving in, because like I said, I've never really known much about the near west side. So hearing about all the accomplishments that all the partners have done over the past years was really interesting, because I'm like, oh, I never knew that was a thing. I never knew that was you guys. Like, you know what I mean? So, but it was also a learning opportunity to see what else you all want in the near west side, and what else we can do for the near west side, and how many people actually care. I think that was my biggest thing. I was like, oh, it's a virtual summit. Like there won't be a lot of people, but like there were so many people, and like I think Rachel mentioned earlier, there were people from London, there were people from like all these different countries committed to working with the near west side and helping the near west side. And I thought that was amazing, that people would sit on their computers for hours but were actually engaged. It wasn't anything boring. It wasn't anything like, oh, I don't want to be here. It was something everybody was sitting there for 2.5 days, 3 days, fully engaged. So I thought that was really cool.
And Rachel, always feel free to chime in if you want to add anything to it. But I want to go back to get Tim and Dia. When you think about that, and Dia, I'm gonna start with you. If you think about those 3 days, what message, what program, what initiative, what idea, what thought resonated with you when you think about that 2.5 day experience?
I think specifically I enjoyed the sessions on like youth engagement. I'm in grad school right now for student affairs in higher education, and just hearing the ideas that everyone had, no matter where they were, to get youth involved, and how much youth aren't overlooked. I think that sometimes people overlook the youth and just put them aside sometimes because people have to deal with neighborhood problems or like murals and gardens, and we talk about that, but it was just, I think that aspect of the summit was probably my favorite. Just hearing not only what they wanted to do for the community, but specifically for our youth, ranging from little kids to young adults, and trying to get them involved and get them employed and get them doing different partnerships with Harley and Near West Side. So I thought that was really interesting. But overall, just hearing the bouncing off of ideas from all these different people who are from all walks of life. I think for me, it was just, I enjoyed the experience while also learning, but like just to see who all is involved was just very, very surprising to me. So, but the youth aspect about it was my favorite.
Tim, any thoughts on what resonated with you during that experience?
I absolutely 100% agree. I mean, in my professional work, I work at an organization that's 50 plus years here in Milwaukee called Pathfinders, and we work with youth and young adults experiencing homelessness and housing instability and trauma of a whole variety of sorts. And that what really resonates for me is we have young people here in the Near West Side that we're also working with and touching through our work at Pathfinders. Some of those youth are coming from this neighborhood. Some of the youth we're actually encouraging come back to this neighborhood or call this neighborhood home. And I think there is such a vibrancy and there's such an energy that surrounds the youth and young adults here throughout Milwaukee, but in particular on the Near West Side. And I think that really hits close to home for me. During the summit itself, I was part of a work group that really we eventually call ourselves a magnetic community of choice. And our focus was really on how do we continue to increase investment and quality of life for those who live, who work, who play, and who stay here in the Near West Side without displacing those of us who are already here, and some who have been here much longer than I have. And I think that's a really important balance. How do we add to the fabric of the existing neighborhoods and the people who call this home, sometimes for generations, and make those investments to improve the quality of life for everyone without forcing some out for the benefit of others. And I think that really resonates for me, because I think that's where all people's quality of life is improved, and that's really where I want to invest some of my personal energy as a resident and also as a landlord here on the Near West Side, to ensure that this is a place people want to be in, whether that's to work, to play, to live, or to stay. I just think this is the place that we really want to be, that community of choice, really for everyone.
Tim, I love that term, community of choice. I love that. Rachel, before we talk about outcomes, talk to Dia and Tim about outcomes, was anything that resonated, any themes, ideas that resonated with you during this process?
I think personally, just the power of huge amounts of stakeholders. I mean, we're talking multi-stakeholder, the couple hundred residents, businesses, small, big, that's really stuck with me in the work that I also do in my day job, as you would say, at Harley. That plus, we mentioned it before, leaning into the positive, the strengths and assets. And there's just so much more power when we take a positive view rather than being mired in the negative. And you can feel it. You can literally feel it even on a Zoom call of 100 people, what that did for the energy level. And that's something else that I've been trying to be more conscious about just in my day-to-day life, and both at work and at home. So that's kind of like a meta sort of resonating kind of thing. But it's something I think we have to keep in mind, because I think that's how we can make the difference and how we bring these things forward, by continually keeping that top of mind. Gotta have input, and we have to have a lot of stakeholders involved, and we have to keep leaning into the positive and the strength.
Rachel, I appreciate that. I know for you as a board member and chairing the steering committee, you guys have made it a commitment to make sure that we residents' voices are at every single level of what we do, and that's so exciting. Yesterday we had the opportunity to accept an award on NWSWeek Partners on behalf of our work with arts in the city of Milwaukee, and it was great to people talk about the resident engagement. And so, thank you for that. Thank you for that commitment. Tim and Dia, I want to now talk about some outcomes. What would you like to see as far as outcomes? And Tim, I want to start with you. If you could pick one or two items, what would you see? What would you like to see as far as an outcome coming out of this Appreciative Inquiry Summit that would be important to you?
Yeah. I think that's such a critical question, Keith. And that's in some ways a hard one for me to answer because there was so much in possibilities that was generated from the summit. And just a shout out to Harley as one of the lead sponsors, as well as all of the anchor institutions, because I think they really recognize that the power of resident voice and resident choice is really critical. I think to any of the outcomes that we settle on. I mean, I love the idea of creating a community center, a community hub, a gathering place for businesses, for business owners, for residents to convene and to celebrate this important work. The idea of generating resources to attract and keep both residents and businesses here in the near West Side is really appealing. And again, just circling back, the opportunities for our community's young people, whether that's in the arts, in employment opportunities, in that creative genius that our young people constantly demonstrate here in our community and in our neighborhood. Those are some of the outcomes that I'm really energized and excited about seeing become actual, things that add value to the near West Side.
The same question for you. If you could point out one or two outcomes, expected outcomes from the Appreciative Inquiry Summit, what would you highlight?
I think at one point we talked about more businesses on the near West Side, specifically restaurants. And I like that for Near West Side Week that we're doing like a taste of Near West Side Week. And from that, I would hope that each year we get more. I'm a big foodie. Like I like to go eat. I like to go around Milwaukee and find different places. And I know a lot of people, because of the finals and the Bucks winning, they're going to be coming to Milwaukee more and, doing these tours. And from that, I want not just the restaurants, but clearly like restaurants and businesses to expand over into the near West Side and to develop more. So when people do go on those tours, like, oh yeah, Milwaukee is this, has really good this and this really good this. So I think that was my number one thing, just more businesses to advertise in near West Side, but also the youth outreach and the youth involvement in the community, getting those community centers, getting those programs together, so that the youth not only have something to do, but have something to look forward to. I think though the near West Side is like this large sector of Milwaukee, it is still separated. So also bringing those communities together with different outreach programs.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I definitely see that value that you talk about as far as being able to really engage our youth. I think that's one thing that we're struggling with in the city. There's a lot of youth that just don't have direction and guidance. If we can somehow understand how we can get them together and work with them, whether it's just job training, just having fun, but I definitely see that value, and I'm hopefully NWSWeek can play a role in that. I want to move on just to a couple items because I think it's important. And Rachel, you might be able to help me out with this. I know we have a plan and ideas, but we talk about what does NWSWeek Partner plan to really do with the ideas that came out of the summit. And quite a few of them came out, but maybe you can shed some light on how we're going to tackle and strategize around really executing around these ideas.
Yeah, we've created what I'm now going to call the Dreams to Action Plan that really takes the output for the summit, it fully integrates it in to the existing work of Near West Side Partners. We've folded it into our existing strategic plan, and it actually led to some really great enhancements to that plan, to be honest. And then between our existing working teams, and then we're standing up, I think it's 5, might be 6 distinct projects where we think it's really a cross sector, needs some focused attention. And those project teams are going to have 2 leads. They're going to have 2 liaisons from the steering committee, and then as many team members as want to participate. And so community center is definitely one of them. Magnetic community of choice is also one of them. Sort of green and renewing iconic way is a third project. I'm going to miss some of the projects, Keith, so you'll have to help me make sure I get them all in there. Those are the fourth one is really, we called it Near West Side Community Corners, and it's sort of an intersection based approach of how do we make things safer, greener, and sort of attractive in ways that maybe it may not have a community center, or it could have a community center on one corner, but just how you activate the intersection itself becomes a place where people can gather and access resources as well. So Keith, you have to fill in on the fifth one that I'm sure I forgot about. It might be the youth one. But we've taken the time to integrate it into what we've already got structured, and that will give it some not only institutional support and consistent oversight, but I think it's going to allow us to lean into the strengths of the Near West Side partners, because why would we not? And I think it's going to give us a huge advantage in how we implement and how we can actually get traction faster, including starting with an event we're going to have in mid-October.
Ooh, can we talk about, before we talk about this, I want to say you're absolutely right. That fifth one is the meaningful opportunities for youth and adults. And we're already talking to partners, potential partners about that, how we can work with them. But let's talk about October 15th.
So October 15th, block the afternoon of October 15th, we're going to try to have a big kind of landscaping cleanup event here in the Near West Side. We really want to have this be bigger, with many more people than perhaps we've had. It won't be just sort of targeted places, but maybe a little bit more extensively across the neighborhood. It's a consistent theme, I think, for residents, business owners, visitors, employees. Part of what makes you feel that you want to stay is that you have a welcoming and vibrant, and that includes clean and green, I would add, neighborhood. And so this is just a small step in that direction, and then we're going to hopefully lead that as a kickoff into even greater things for how we bring that sense of well-being physically into the physical environment of our great neighborhood of neighborhoods.
And then I think this is the opportunity now that I just want to share with everyone that everyone can participate. And it's a call to action really to let people know there's so many things that you can get involved in. And quite frankly, we not only need leaders, but we need folks who can help us execute. And what I mean by that is that we're looking at bricks and mortar, and Rachel has outlined it already. We're looking at bricks and mortar projects that we're trying to do, but also look at programming and activity. So it's not just about raising funds to try to build a building. It's also about making sure we can program activity in the Near West Side around our youth, around employment, around health and wellness. And so if you have an interest, feel free to reach out to us. We're easy to get a hold of, Near West Side, mke.org. And we have a brand new website that you can check out. You can get our information there. I'm at director@nearwestsidepartners.org. Pretty easy. director@nearwestsidepartners.org. And so for us, what we ask is, and the commitment is simple, 1 to 2 hours a month to meet, to discuss how we can work together and strategize around programming and bricks and mortar. That's important to us because the moons have aligned, as I always say, and this is an opportunity to really make a difference in the Near West Side and really change the Near West Side in a really meaningful way. And it's great to have our anchor institutions. Rachel, we are so glad to have Harley Davidson not only at the table, but leading us on these charges to make things happen. And it's been a marriage made where we have this nonprofit focus, but then we have this for-profit mentality of getting things done, focusing on what needs to happen, looking at those outcomes, look at that ROI, and that's been great for us, that partnership. But I also want to thank Tim. Tim, you're our resident voice, and we want to thank all our residents and people like you who are involved in some type of way, giving us the guidance, the vision, the leadership, but also the push to go ahead. And I appreciate that. And Dia, a third of our population, people don't know, the students, and our students are so important and valuable to us. And we thank you for stepping up on the park team. You do amazing work. I'm so proud of you. She's leading those park meetings and getting us through those meetings every Tuesday, but also your commitment and your passion to what you've done. And I love what you said earlier. We talked about you didn't return home. This became your home. And we're so glad that Newark Side is your home. And so with that said, I don't think there's anything else. Rachel, did you want to add anything else to this conversation?
Well, I just want to add, none of this would be possible without the amazing work and dedication of Keith and Lindsay. The work that you guys do every day, the partnership we were able to drive for that AI summit, we did that in a very short period of time, and it was a completely collaborative, egoless, amazing experience. And so I just want to end with a big thank you and shout out to Keith and Lindsay and all of the staff at Near West Side Partners.
Thank you. With that said, we're going to finish up. So for those you don't know, this is actually going on. It's already on Facebook. It's Facebook Live, but also will be on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out there. With that said, we're going to say goodbye and see you at our event October 15th. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.